Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and as you guys know, the summer season is quickly approaching, and usually I would end up doing a really long video talking about all the shows that are coming out in the summer, including shows that I don't really want to necessarily talk about, but because of the fact that I'm a lot more selective with what I watch and that I don't review every single episode of like every single TV show, I feel like I don't really need to do that, and to be honest with you, it's kind of a relief because those videos are easily the hardest videos to make. It takes me over like 2 hours to edit. I'm not joking, they're very difficult videos to make, and like I said, the majority of shows I talk about, I'm probably never gonna watch, so I just don't really see a reason to do that. So instead, what I'm going to do is something a lot more gratifying and give you guys the top 10 shows that I think are going to be the best shows of the summer, the ones that I personally am really looking forward to. Now, I am well aware this has been kind of a weak year for TV so far. Now, there are still some things I need to watch, like The Terror and things like that. But at least from what I've seen, a lot of the shows people thought were going to be really good have not been as good as they thought. The summer does look really great. I think there's a lot of great stuff coming out this summer that I am very excited for, and we're just going to jump right into it. Also, real quick, guys, I just want to preface something that all the things I'm talking about here are, in fact, either miniseries or TV series. There are some really great TV movies coming out on HBO, two of which look like some of the best things to come out this summer. Fahrenheit 451 and The Tale, they both look fantastic, and, you know, if I were to put movies on here, then definitely, yeah, they would be in the top 10, but like I said, this list is strictly just miniseries and TV shows that I am, in fact, looking forward to, so again, I am really looking forward to those movies, but they just aren't on this list. But similar to all top 10 lists, I actually do have a few honorable mentions because I really did take the time to watch all these trailers and, you know, try to decipher what would be in my top 10 list. And we'll start off with the first one, which this one literally just got announced before I pressed record on this video. And that is the second season of 13 Reasons Why. The only reason this is an honorable mention is as much as I do love the show, I'm still not 100%, you know, warm on the fact that they are doing a second season. I think the show was fine as a one-season show. I think it was an ambiguous ending, and we don't really need this, but at the same time, I really love the show. I think a lot of people have misinterpreted it for what it really is. I think there's some fantastic actors here. I think it really is doing a lot for, you know, it's saying a lot about bullying and suicide and things like that. I'm very interested in seeing what Season 2 does, in fact, bring to the table. The next one I have is American Woman. Now, there is no trailer for this show. All I know is that it is going to be on Paramount Network. It's a show about Alicia Silverstone, and it's in the 60s, and I think it sounds really interesting. The trailer, for all I know, could be complete shit, but just from what I read, it sounds interesting. I am definitely interested in it. CB Strike, this is a mini-series detective show, and I'm definitely interested in this one. Little Women, which is, of course, you know, mini-series. Pose, the new Ryan Murphy series, I almost had this one in my top 10. It was literally this close to being in my top 10. But I just couldn't fit in there. I don't really think, you know, I think this show does look good. It doesn't look like it's going to be on the level of some of Murphy's other projects, but I do think the show does look really well done. Just the fact that Evan Peters and Kate Mara are going to be in it, that definitely does have me hopeful. And the large onslaught of transgender actors, I think, is really great and really just says a lot about how far we've come in terms of TV and things like that. And then these two, I pitted these two together because I kind of feel the same about both of them. Sweet, Bitter, and Vita, these are both shows that are coming on Stars that I think both look really great. And they're both half-hour shows. They're like one after the other, and I think they both look really good. Sweet Bitter does look like the better of the two, but I definitely am interested in this one. Safe, this is a Netflix show with, shit, it's the dude from Dexter. I'm blanking on his name right now. Michael C. Hall. There we go, Michael C. Hall. And it's him trying to raise his kids and whatnot. I think this looks really good. And Secession. It's an HBO show. It's coming on the summer. And that's really all I need to know. So those are all my honorable mentions. Now we're just going to get into my top 10, starting off with number 10. So this one might throw a few people off that it's actually in my top 10. But yeah, I do think Cloak and Dagger actually does have a lot of potential from the trailers and the marketing I've seen. I'm really interested in the show. To me, I've heard that Freeform actually is improving. I've heard really good things about Siren. I really want to get into that show. This, to me, looks like one of their more darker shows. It looks like this isn't going for that young adult sort of demographic that a lot of their shows have gone for, and I think have very much suffered because of that. It looks really dark. It looks like they're not really holding much back with this show, and I'm really interested in seeing how this goes. I think the dynamic between Cloak and Dagger look really great. Olivia Holt is not someone I hold to that high of a standard, but she does look really good here, and I think the guy playing Dagger, he looks good as well. Or playing Cloak, I think he looks good as well. I'm interested in seeing how the show does end up going. I don't know too much about it. The trailer does look really great, though. It looks really intense. The romance might be a little bit forced, but it's Marvel, it's Freeform, it's their first sort of, this is Freeform's first try at dabbing into the Marvel universe, and I'm down for it, honestly. You guys know me, anything with Marvel, I definitely think looks really, I definitely am down for. I have a lot of hope for this show, and hey, it can't be worse than Inhumans, right? I mean, I don't think we're ever going to get a show that's worse than Inhumans, but either way, it's a risky choice, but I think it looks really good, and that is why it is my number 10, and now let's go to my number 9.
Missing. Presumed dead.
Picnic at Hanging Rock, this is one that I wasn't 100% on board with at first, I will admit that, but over time, the more that I've seen the marketing and the trailers and things like that, I actually am very interested in this, and what I really like about this is that, one, it's taking a movie that is a little bit lesser known to people who aren't necessarily cinephiles and kind of bringing it to a more, widespread audience, something like Amazon Video. They, right now, I think, are the #1 sort of platform when it comes to streaming shows. Netflix wishes they were there, but, Amazon's much more selective than Netflix is, and I think that this is a very good example of that. I think the show has a lot of potential. I like that it's a miniseries. They're not modernizing it or anything. I'm hoping they do make some changes. I'm hoping it's not just a rehash of the original movie, but I personally love the original movie. I think it's a film that does not get enough attention. I know amongst I know amongst film lovers and things like that, it is recognized as one of the best films of all time. I'm just saying for people who aren't as big into film, I hope this, this does kind of make it a little bit more popular, make it a little bit more well-known to casual audiences, and I think it's going to do that very well here. Natalie Dormer is a fantastic actress. I have a lot of faith in this for sure, and that is why it is my number 9. So coming in number 8, we have a show that I think is going to be on most people's list for sure. It's one that I've been looking forward to for a long time now, and now it's finally returning.
Ain't no joke. You wanna test me? Step up. I'm right here.
Get paid, black man. Get paid.
Joke.
So, Luke Cage is coming in at kind of a strange time in the Netflix, Marvel, as far as the Netflix shows go, because we had the Defenders, and then, of course, we had Jessica Jones, and since then, there's kind of been this period where there hasn't been as much going on, and, Jessica Jones Season 2 was big, but not in the way people expect it to be. Luke Cage, I think, is going to give people that Defenders sort, that post-Defenders, sort of vibe that they really wanted. We're going to get a lot more between him and Iron Fist, and that was one of the best parts of the Defenders. I think we're going to get more into, who Luke Cage is, where he really goes from here. As long as we don't have Diamondback as a villain this season, I will definitely be on board with that. Now, unfortunately, as we know at the end of Season 1, Diamondback is very much still alive, but I'm hoping he's not as much of a focus, because that character, I just did not think worked in the show. He was way too cheesy and over the top, and in a show that, yes, it is embracing blaxploitation, it was a lot more realistic prior to when Diamondback entered the scene. Then I think the show kind of crumbled a bit. Hopefully this does get the show to pick itself back up. I think it definitely does have a lot of potential. Mike Coulter is fantastic as a character. Anything he does, I am definitely down for. And it's got a really great cast. I mean, Alfre Woodard, I loved as Mariah. Of course, you have Simone Missique. She's returning. You know, I can't think of the actor's name, but he plays Shades. He's fantastic. I mean, there's a lot of great talent in this show. I think this does have a lot of potential, and I am definitely interested in seeing what this season does, in fact, bring to the table. Definitely am looking forward to Luke Cage, and that is why it is my number 8. Number 7, we have another Netflix show that I'm very much looking forward to seeing the return of. For most people, Glow was the best original summer series of last year, and I would very much agree with that. There really wasn't a summer show last year that I connected to as much as I did with Glow. I love the characters, I love the 80s setting, I love the social commentary it had about women. You know, there were so many great performances in there, of course, from, you know, Alison Brie to, of course, I mean, the star-studded performance, you know, from Betty Gilpin. She was incredible in the show as well. I don't exactly know what's going to happen in Season 2. I think it's going to be very interesting to see where we really do go there. Obviously, because, you know, now we don't know if Debbie and Ruth, are they going to be able to move on from what happened in Season 1? You know, is there going to be more reconciliation there? I think there's a lot of potential for Season 2. We don't really know a ton about it. There's no trailer or anything, but just the fact that we're getting these characters again, we're getting another season from this show, I think it has tons of potential. This show is quickly becoming the new Orange is the New Black, and I mean that in the sense that the way people used to look at that show, that's how they're looking at Glow. There's so many great characters. They're also fun and quirky. You love watching them in the show, but you also really do feel for them on a personal human level, and I think that's something that Glow did incredibly well. It had a lot to say about, you know, women's professional wrestling and fame and things like that, and I'm hoping it does get into that more this season. I'm also interested in seeing where Sam as a character is going to go, because, you know, we know he has a daughter in his life now. He knows about her, and I'm interested in seeing where that's going to take him. So I think Glow just has tons of potential for this season, and for all those reasons, it definitely deserves to be my number 7. Glow Season 2, very interested in seeing where this does go. Now, number 6, we go back to Amazon for a little bit with what I think looks like to be one of the most promising shows in a while. Coming off the heels of A Quiet Place, John Krasinski is probably one of the most talked about stars in Hollywood right now. He really has cemented himself as this auteur director, and, you know, before, most people just saw John Krasinski as, oh, he's just Jim from The Office, and I think he really is trying to branch out and show, no, that's not the only thing I am, and I love it when actors do that, because sometimes you'll just get one good role, and you're just sort of, you know, recognized as that for the rest of your life. You know, look at someone like Taron Egerton in Kingsman. I don't think he's ever going to get a role as good as Eggsy. He's tried, but I don't really think it's ever going to happen. There's a lot of actors who are like that, unfortunately, and, you know, look at the kid in Boyhood. I don't think he's ever going to get a role as good as just the kid from Boyhood. That's who he's always going to be, and I think John Krasinski is really trying to do that with Jack Ryan, and I think it has tons of potential. This show just looks so entertaining and so dark. It has this really great sort of, you know, he's obviously, says he's working in the CIA. Now, I haven't seen any of the Jack Ryan films prior to this, and I don't really think I need to. It looks like they're kind of doing their own thing, and I think the show has a lot of potential. The other reason, because it's already renewed for a season 2, so I have a lot of hope with this show. I think Amazon is definitely banking on this series, and like I said with Amazon, they're one of those, you know, like I said, I think they're one of the best streaming services out there. It's just not enough people know about them, and because of that, they had to cancel like a bunch of their shows last year, and I'm really hoping that doesn't happen with Jack Ryan. This show has a lot of potential. It looks really entertaining, but it looks like it's gonna have some really great action, and maybe some really compelling characters as well, so I am definitely interested in seeing how Jack Ryan does turn out. I think it's going to be a great show for Amazon, and for all those reasons, it is my number 6. Alright, so this next one does not have a trailer yet, but that doesn't matter. I am very excited for the show. This is called Strange Angel. It's on CBS All Access. It's premiering on June 14th, and I am incredibly hyped for the show. I mean, the cast alone is really great. You got Jack Rayner, Bella Heathcote, and Rupert Friend. You know, Michael Gaston's in there as well. Really good cast overall. However, that's not the thing that gets me excited, because the plot sounds fairly generic. I mean, it's this guy named Jack Parsons. He's this brilliant and ambitious blue-collar worker of 1930s Los Angeles. Started as a janitor at a chemical factory, but he had fantastical dreams that led him to birth the unknown discipline of American rocketeering. You know, it's one of these, like, he falls in, like, this mysterious world that included these rituals at night and things like that. So it is a, you know, it is a sci-fi drama. But then you factor in who is behind this show, and the creator of the show is Mark Heyman. If you don't know who that is, he co-wrote both Black Swan and The Skeleton Twins, which, as you guys know, I adore both of those films very much, especially Skeleton Twins especially does not get enough attention. I absolutely love that movie. It's one of my favorite films of the decade. I do not think it gets, like I said, enough attention at all. And it's directed by David Lowery. And if you don't know who David Lowery is, he is the man who directed A Ghost Story last year, and you guys know how much I love A Ghost Story.
And
so,
of course,
yeah,
once I'm
suffice
done
to
with
say,
that,
I don't
and
really
I'm
need to
done
see a
filming,
trailer
it then gets
to
announced that
already
we do,
get
in
hyped
fact,
for
have
the
a trailer
show.
for
There's
Strange
so
Angel.
much talent
I have
behind
actually
this. The
not
premise
watched it
sounds
yet. I
actually
kinda wanna go
really
into the show
interesting,
completely
with
blind,
him being like
but
this, like,
just so you
sex
guys know, I
magic
filmed that
rituals or
video a
whatever.
couple
I don't
days
really know how
ago.
that's gonna go, but
At
I
the
think
time,
there's tons
Strange
of potential
Angel
with this
was
show.
not
I think there's a really
announced
great
yet,
cast behind
and
it,
now it is.
and
So
I think this
am well
definitely
aware
could
that there
be
is,
a
in fact,
really
a
big
trailer
show
out
for
there.
CBS All
I'll post
Access.
the
I
link
mean,
down below,
CBS
but
All
I don't
Access are
plan
kind
on
of
watching, like I
infamous
said, solely
because
I kind of want to go into the show
of the certain
blind.
things they make you do, the fact that they made everyone buy it just to watch the rest of a Star Trek series. But if you can get past that, I do think they are legitimately making a name for themselves. They have put out some good content, from what I've seen at least, and I think this is definitely going to put them further up that pedestal, and I am very interested in seeing how the show does turn out. So number 5, without a doubt, is definitely Strange Angel. Like I said, no trailer or anything, but I really don't need one to get excited for this show. So, number 4, we have a show that I've been waiting for a very long time, and now it's finally coming back.
Joshua.
They got my mom and dad. They got me.
Oh my god, finally guys, seriously, I cannot tell you how long I have been anxiously waiting for Outcast to return. Season 1 was probably my favorite new show of that year, apart from The Night Of. That was a mini-series. In terms of new shows of 2016, that was easily my favorite. I think it was such a well-crafted, very gritty, and very honest show about possession and exorcism, yet it was very grounded, and it felt very realistic in that sense. And there were so many great performances in that show, and especially towards the second half of Season 1. I mean, just the amount of shit that went down and where we're really going to go in Season 2. There are so many things to explore. I mean, obviously, you're going to have Megan mourning the loss of Mark, obviously, with what happened to him in the penultimate episode. But then, of course, you have Amber in the picture, and we know that Amber is, you know, has the same sort of powers as Kyle. So there are a lot of places that they can really go with this. I am very interested in seeing where they're going to go. I know it's already premiered, like, overseas and things like that. And, you know, I had an opportunity to watch that stuff, but I really just want to wait till it comes on to Cinemax and I can watch it. I think this has massive potential. I adored Season 1, and Season 2 I think has potential to be even better. Obviously, it's going to be very hard to see Reggie Cathy one last time because this will probably be his last performance, but regardless, I am hyped for the show. I don't even know what Season 2 is really about, and I don't really care. I have been, like I said, so just incredibly anxiously awaiting more Outcast, and the fact that we're getting more from these characters, I am very excited for. So number 4, without a doubt, is Outcast.
You're a cowboy today.
You don't act like the man from the stories I've heard.
That's the thing about being a grandfather. I get to do all the things I wish I'd done with my children. Woo! And the things I regret, I get to do different.
You were right. They're building a city.
Everyone's forgotten who runs this valley. I need you more than ever.
You have me. What are you doing here?
Same thing I always do. Fixing something you couldn't.
Stagnation is death for a town, and the Duttons are the ones killing it.
The new chief is hungry for a fight.
I'm gonna buy your ranch, and I'm gonna pull down every fence. It'll look like it used to, when it was ours.
Just tell me who to fight.
Everyone.
A man must stand with his people.
This ain't checkers, son. This is chess, and you're about to play it with masters.
All I do every day is fight for this family.
If you were winning, I wouldn't be here.
I don't regret one sin I've committed. It's the one I'm about to commit that worries me.
Mess with my family. I will chop your family tree down.
Progress. Can't stop it, John. Watch me.
Yellowstone, a new series Wednesday, June 20th at 9 on Paramount Network.
Alright, so this one is very interesting because this is a show that I think looks really damn good, but not enough people are going to see. And that's, of course, not because of the talent, not because of who's behind it, but because of the network that is surrounding it. And that's Paramount Network. And saying the Paramount Network has had a very rough start is kind of an understatement because, of course, they put out Waco, a show that people were just endlessly anticipating, and it wasn't as good as everyone thought it was going to be. It played things very safe, and honestly, it's very forgettable. I'm really struggling to remember that show. Just watch my review. You guys can see what I said there. And then, of course, you know, following that, they had the almost universally negative reception towards Heathers that not only pretty much everyone just bashed on and said was incredibly unnecessary and was just kind of catering to SJWs and things like that, but to top it all off, they had to delay the show because of the whole Parkland shooting. So, needless to say, Paramount Network has not had a very solid start at all, and I think Yellowstone is exactly the show they need. Not only does this show look incredibly riveting, but it stars someone who's never done TV before, Kevin Costner, which is incredible that he's actually doing a TV show. I never thought I would have seen this, and I think it's really awesome that all these, you know, movie stars are now doing TV, and he looks great in the show, and, you know, the conflicts here looks really great. It's kind of like your typical sort of like, you know, modern Western type show with a conflict between him and these Indians and, you know, sort of them trying to hold down this ranch and everything. I think that looks really great. But then, of course, you tie in who is behind the show. And you know who's behind the show? Someone that I very much do respect, and that is Taylor Sheridan. Yes, Taylor Sheridan. I'm talking about the guy who's behind things like Wind River and Sicario and Hell or High Water. This guy knows his shit, and especially when it comes to, you know, Western, modern Western sort of things, he absolutely knows what he's doing, and I think he definitely is going to give us the very gritty, very realistic look at ranchers that we really do want to see here. We also got Wes Bentley, Gil Birmingham, who actually coincidentally was also in Wind River, so you do have people that's worked with Taylor Sheridan before, and I think this is, like I said, this is just coming at the perfect time for Paramount Network, and if they handle this right, this could make them go from a network that really is kind of like irrelevant as hell as fuck right now, and really just skyrocket them to a network that has tons of potential, because it's happened before. I mean, I remember when MTV was doing Sweet Vicious, and everyone's like, all right, MTV's really putting themselves out there. I mean, look at something like, look at something like HBO. I mean, look at FX. I mean, these are networks that have really emerged from their shows, and I think Paramount Network does actually have a very good chance of doing this. I do think they have legitimate potential with the show, and I really hope it's very well utilized. There's so much that I love about this show. Obviously, Kevin Costner, but for me, the big sell isn't Kevin Costner, because as great as an actor he is, Taylor Sheridan is the main reason why I'm so interested in the show, because I don't think anyone handles these sort of modern-day Western shows better than him. And of course, this is the first show that he is not just writing, but he is behind this entire show. Like, this is basically his project, and I think it's awesome that he is doing that. I am so hyped to see, again, what the show does end up doing. For all those reasons, I don't think enough people know about the show, and it's very sad, but it premieres on June 20th. It's definitely a must-watch, and it definitely is something to check out, and for all those reasons, it without a doubt comes at my number 3. Now, going back from Kevin Costner, we actually have someone in the next show who also is making their TV debut that I think a lot of people are going to be excited about.
Talk about your daughters. One of them is dangerous. The other one's in danger.
It's not safe for you here.
Alright, so this show in general, I think is probably on most people's, not just summer shows list, but of the shows in general. And I mean, why wouldn't it be? I mean, it's a mini-series from HBO, and it's not just any mini-series from HBO. It is, in fact, a mini-series that is directed by Jean-Marc Vallée. And if you don't know who that is, he was actually one of the executive producers of Big Little Lies. He also did a film called Dallas Buyers Club and a film called Wild, a film that I don't really like that much, but it's still quite admirable. And of course, coming off the heels of Big Little Lies, I'm sure a lot of people will be very interested. It's also written by Marty Noxon, one of the best, I think, female writers out there. She is the reason why Unreal Season 1 was so good and the rest of the seasons really weren't. Yeah, I'm not really watching that show that much anymore. You guys can pretty much tell why, because she's not really behind it. But of course, I think the main thing that's going to draw people to this series is that it stars none other than Amy Adams. Yes, Amy Adams is making her TV debut in this series, and I'm really excited to see what she does here. Very much reminds me of Big Little Lies, in which you have these, like, huge Hollywood stars, and you're just so like surprised that they'd actually sign on to this, but you just love every ounce of what they're doing. This show's much different, though. It's much more psychological. You got this woman, she is, she was in a psychiatric hospital, and she's trying to solve the murder of 2 young girls, but she's also got some freaky stuff going on. I mean, I don't really know. The show looks really intriguing, but also really creepy. I think this has tons of potential. I think it's definitely going to live up to the hype for sure. Amy Adams in general, I think, is going to kill it in this show. She is one of the most, not underrated, but understated actresses working today. Like, she is a great actress, and I don't think that, apart from Arrival, I don't really think she gets enough attention, and I think this is definitely going to get her a lot of attention for sure. I am very excited to see how this show does turn out. The trailer has me hooked. The talent is definitely there, and of course, who's directing and writing, that definitely does have me intrigued as well. There's just so much potential with the show, and I really hope they do deliver on it. And to top it all off, it also is going to have Sophia Lillis from It in a recurring role. Yeah, Sophia Lillis, of course, who played, Bev in It, who I think was one of the scene stealers of that film. She's going to play the young version of Amy Adams, which is interesting because a lot of people said Amy Adams actually should have played her in It Chapter 2, which of course we know she's not. That's now Jessica Chastain. That's a whole separate thing, but I think it's really cool. We're going to see Sophia Lillis again. I'm glad that she really is putting herself out there because I think she's an incredible actress. There's just so much potential with this show. I think, like I said, most people are probably going to have this on their list, and I think it is incredibly well deserved. It has so much potential, and for all those reasons, it is definitely my number 2 Sharp Objects. But of course, guys, this is where it all leads to the number 1 show that I think has the most potential in 2018, and that, of course, is...
I've told you there's something I've never said out loud and never would. The thing that I was skirting.
Just to let you know, the fireworks will be starting in a few minutes.
Do we look like children? Do we look like we're interested in the fucking fireworks?
This probably is very obvious to some and very predictable, and for most people this probably is going to be the most anticipated, but why shouldn't it be? I mean, everything about Patrick Melrose just screams instant hits. And not only that, but similar to Yellowstone, I think it's exactly what Showtime needs. Showtime is a very irrelevant network. They've always tried to be like HBO and FX, and I don't think they've really found that hit. All their good shows end up getting canceled. Like Penny Dreadful, I mean, that was like their best show, and now it's gone. The Shy, I unfortunately have yet to finish. I will finish it eventually, but you know, you got Shameless and Homeland and Ray Donovan and all these shows that just go on forever. So for them to not only have something with a really big star-studded cast like Benedict Cumberbatch and Jennifer Jason Leigh, but it also is a limited series, I think is perfect for them. I think this is exactly what they need. Now, yes, they did do that with Gorilla last year, but I don't really think many people watch Gorilla, and I don't think people's interest levels were as peaked as they are with this. Now, obviously, Benedict Cumberbatch in general, I mean, he's one of the best actors working today, so that alone gets me intrigued. But then you factor in the rest of the cast, like Jennifer Jason Leigh and Hugo Weaving and Allison Williams and Holiday Granger. I mean, these are some incredibly talented individuals, and I think definitely this is going to be one of the biggest draws of the show. And of course for Benedict Cumberbatch, I mean, this is exactly what I think he needs right now. You know, the only TV he's done besides this is Sherlock, and I'm glad to see he's doing something on TV that's not that, because as much as I do enjoy Sherlock, I'll even admit the show's gone on way too long, and they're clearly running out of ideas, and it's cool to see him do something very different. Not only that, but this is very much his most personal project yet. Cumberbatch has already delved into how this is very personal for him. He's wanted to do this for a while. I don't know much about the story. All I really got from the trailer is that this is someone who is a very wounded, who grew up in this terrible home with like his parents who abused him and things like that mentally and physically. He's like an alcoholic. We're gonna follow him through like 3 different generations. I mean, everything about the show just screams, like I said, instant hits, and everything about it says that this is going to be, I think, the best show of the summer. I think this is gonna be the must watch for sure. I think it has so much endless potential, and I really hope that it lives up to it. I mean, there are so many talented actors here, and if this show isn't at least decent, I will be very surprised, because I think this has tons of potential, similar to most of the shows on this list. But I think, you know, these last 2, I think, are definitely the most obvious. They're most likely going to be great. They at least are going to get some really great performances out of these actors, and I think it's really going to show their range, and I'm just very excited to see what ends up happening. Everything about Patrick Melrose, like I said, I am so into it. The comedy, I think, is so on point. I loved it, this show. Sure, it's some very dark material, but it isn't taking itself too seriously, but at the same time, it's not going to shy away from the harsh realities that Melrose has to deal with, and I think that's really great as well. I'm interested in seeing the different timelines, how that factors into the show. You know, Jennifer Jason Leigh, I think she's going to give her a great performance. Hugo Weaving, I mean, there's just so much potential oozing within this. And I know I'm saying the same thing, guys, but really, I mean, this show just has me so intrigued. I really hope this is what I think it's going to be. And for all those reasons, Patrick Melrose is easily my #1 must-watch show of summer 2018. And with that, guys, that concludes all of the shows I am, in fact, looking forward to this summer. I know there might be a few that drops from now, you know, that gets announced and things like that I might not have mentioned, but either way, guys, that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Definitely hoping that these shows